We were talking about the costs, the cost of this problem. And you've mentioned the removal of subsidy. It's a key factor. It affects virtually the entire economy and the general living condition of the people. That's one. The other one is that most of the food items are also imported. And because we've had devaluation in the exchange rates, the market reflects the black market rates, which they use to smuggle those items in. But that's, by the way, that's why you have poultry products going up within the period for about 20%. You have the same thing with tomato, and virtually all the items they were able to bring in during that period.
And the increase for fish farming and poultry products is coming from what? The cost of feeds?
Yeah, it's coming because they can't import maize, for instance. The grains they need to make our livestock feeds are not available. The little that is available is very expensive. So the major problem is price stability. How do we achieve price stability? We have to go back to the costs of this problem. The logistics cost is heavy. You have to move items from one region to the other because of our Nigerian peculiar landscape. It's expensive. We don't have the rail system that can handle that. So even when you manufacture these products, a basket of tomato in Kano at the market can be 1,000. Before it gets to my 12 market, it's about 12,000. Yeah. So the cost is heavy. That's one. Then another thing is that we basically have supply gap crisis in Nigeria. And I'll give you a very simple analysis. To have adequate food within the system, for instance, you need 10 units of Article A. But unfortunately, all you have presently is 3 units of Article A. So you have a supply gap of 7 units. How do you bridge that gap? And unfortunately, we've not been able to move those goods freely within the ECOWAS sub-region as we used to do before. So we now rely on smuggling and other stuff. So in the process of getting things to the market, in the process of dealing with that supply gap, everybody has to scramble for what is available. And elementary definition of inflation in economics, you have so many goods, so much money chasing very few items. Yeah. And to make matter worse, at a time like this, the system is awash with so much cash. The banks have so much cash. Government is spending extra on palliatives. Government is planning to spend additional 1 trillion. Where is this money going to? That's number one. If you have so much money within the system, how come it's not impacting the pockets of an average working class?
Because I was just going to ask.
That also goes to the problem of income inequality. Where is our money going to? These are issues that should be addressed one by one. And thankfully, the CBN is doing a lot now. Okay. The CBN is going out of its way to ensure that there's price stability. How is CBN going to do? CBN has very few options. Deploy the monetary instruments. Begin to look at how to mop up some of the liquidity, excess liquidity we have in the system by selling probably the traditional open market operation activities, looking at the discount rate. The other one is to increase the interest rate, NPR, and that's suicidal. So CBN is in the fix. If you increase the NPR, for instance, from the current rate, you've increased from 13% progressively to almost 20%, you are going to push interest rates forward. And you want manufacturers to move to manufacture more. Then they have huge cost of funds. They are unable to do that. That's number one. The moment CBN does that, the objective is to reduce business and household spending, technically slow down consumption. Consumption is relatively too low, almost to the point of hunger and starvation at the low end of the economy. So the moment you push NPR up, we have more crises. Then you have people moving their investment from the productive sectors of the economy into the risk-free assets. That's the fixed income securities. That means I can put my 1 billion instead of going into manufacturing or trading into a fixed deposit where I will earn 20%. That means in 5 years, my money will double. So there's a crisis there, and the CBN is watching the issue, I believe, very closely and keenly. So by the time you do that one, I'll rather decide not to do business, move my investments into risk-free security. I would rather, and it will affect other sectors of the economy, of the market, because people begin to move their investment from real estate, from capital markets, which we need to develop deeper. Move it from capital market to fixed income securities where they can earn free money and risk-free interest. So it's a bit technical. So at the end of the day, at the end of the day, we'll discover that the real solution lies in two ways. Dividing it into the immediate, the short term, and the long term. In the immediate, government must find means to ease the supply gap. And I think CBN has started that by saying that let's remove the food embargo we place on ourselves. Let's have more supply of good items. That's also dangerous because it can discourage manufacturing. Our industries can't compete effectively and favorably with. So we are in a fix, but ultimately they have to take it as it comes, day by day.
As you said,
the short run, they will move to the medium term, they will move to the long term. Where we have to develop agriculture, push much more resources into agriculture, put more investment into agriculture, and we have to also look at this. We are going to spend about 1.3 trillion on palliatives. Instead of spending so much money, pushing so much money into the economy, why can't we begin to spend this money to develop, to increase efficiency in the agriculture value chain?
Okay, exactly.
Ultimately, that would eventually boost production, and we'll be able to get better results in the short to medium term.
Thank you so much.